Hello. The film that I will be commemorating today is Our Friend Martin, directed by Robert Brisuro. And it is a film created in 1999 about a boy named Miles that is so focused on playing basketball and that his grades actually drop. And in order to bring his grades up, he must visit Martin Luther King's house, where the house actually takes him back in time to the major points of Martin Luther King's life. Miles, the main character in the film, actually tells his teacher that he focuses so much on basketball because the only way he believes that he will be successful as a colored boy is through sports or entertainment, which is often a very common misconception of African American boys during that time and even now, which is very sad. There are a couple points I'd like to address in the film that are very, very memorable for me. And the first one is Miles and his Caucasian friend first meet Martin on a baseball field, and they're playing with two other Caucasian boys, and the boy's mother comes out, screams at her boys for playing with the Negroes, and tells Miles' Caucasian friend that he'll end up hanged if he keeps hanging out with African American boys, which is very sad to think about that adults would say that to little kids. Another point in the film that I'd like to address is when the boys visit Martin when he's a minister, so he's older at that time, and he's explaining to the boys how they're boycotting the Montgomery buses because Rosa Parks had just gotten arrested for not giving up her seat, which is a very extreme, a very critical point in the civil rights movement. And during that time, somebody actually runs up to Martin and tells him that his house has been bombed, which is very sad because there was actual film from that, from the bombing placed into the film. And another point that they visited was the march, where Martin Luther King had his famous "I Have a Dream" speech, and that was a cool one to add into there. And then the last one that I remember from childhood that I actually remembered very well was when Martin and Miles went to a colored school, and the principal came into the school and screamed at them and told the teacher, who was a woman, "This is why we can't let a woman do a man's job." So not only are African Americans discriminated during this time, but women are still being discriminated against. And then Miles sees his friend Maria, who's Hispanic, and she knows no English, and she's scrubbing the floors of the Caucasian school, which just goes to show that women and Hispanics and other cultures, not only African Americans, were being discriminated against during this time period. And I feel that the film as a whole reflected how African Americans were being treated during the civil rights movement and how far we've come, but the strides that we still have to make. The film commemorates the life of Martin Luther King well, shows actual scenes from the civil rights movement, especially during protests when they would sick their police dogs on people and hose them down, and they were just beating people. And it also allows for the audience to have a new respect for Martin Luther King and all he's went through for the African American community and all the other people within the African American community who are making a difference. And there are a lot of people now in society that I could see that are just like Martin Luther, who are rebelling against society for the greater good of the African American community, which is why I really enjoy this film, and it still works for the present day times. Thank you.